You know that feeling, right? That knot that ties itself in your stomach when you know you need to have a tough conversation, but every fiber of your being is just screaming, nope, not today. Well, we've all been there. So today, we're going to get into why we do that and, more importantly, how we can actually fix it.
I mean, really think about it. Maybe it's that talk with your boss about being overworked, or maybe it's with your partner about that one little thing that's just been grating on you for weeks. We all have that conversation that we keep kicking down the road, always for tomorrow.
And if you do this, I want you to hear me on this. You're not alone. You're completely 100% normal. This is not some kind of character flaw or a weakness. It's actually all about how our brains are wired. It's just brain science.
And that brings us to what you could call the avoidance trap. It's this cycle that we get stuck in where we choose that little hit of short-term relief from staying quiet, even though deep down we know it's just going to cause bigger problems later on.
So here's the trade-off our brain is constantly making. In the short term, it feels amazing, right? No immediate tension, no awkward silences, no confrontation. Relief. But that comfort, it comes with a pretty heavy price tag in the long run. Resentment starts to bubble up, trust starts to crack, and that little problem you avoided, it doesn't go away, it just gets bigger.
So why do we fall for this trap every single time? To really get it, we've got to look under the hood at the hardware we're all running on. Let's dig into why your brain is basically hardwired to hate conflict.
Okay, so meet the main character in this story, the amygdala. Think of it as your brain's super ancient, super sensitive security system. Now, it's fantastic at keeping you safe from, a saber-tooth tiger. But here's the catch. It sounds the exact same, 5-alarm firebell for a difficult chat with your manager. To your amygdala, there's no difference.
You see, the amygdala does some really simple, really dramatic math. To this ancient part of your brain, any kind of conflict equals a threat. Getting rejected by someone feels like real physical danger. And criticism? Well, that's a massive risk. Its only solution is to make you run, to avoid that danger at all costs. And when that fear alarm goes off, our imagination just runs wild. We start catastrophizing, playing out the absolute worst-case scenario in our heads. We imagine these huge, dramatic fights, ruined relationships, the whole 9 yards. But the truth is, as this quote says, the reality is almost never as bad as the movie we're directing in our minds. So we avoid the conversation to prevent this big catastrophe that, let's be honest, probably wasn't going to happen anyway. But what's the real cost of that silence? Well, as it turns out, it's incredibly high. You know, every conversation we don't have leaves something behind. These unspoken issues, they don't just magically disappear. They fester. They morph into resentment. They cause massive misunderstandings and slowly build walls between people. And that small, totally fixable thing you didn't talk about last month, it's now a much bigger, much more tangled mess.
Okay, so that's the bad news. But here's the good news. Avoidance is really just a habit. And you know what? Habits can be changed. So let's open up a toolkit with some really simple, practical things you can start using right away to break that cycle.
The absolute key here is to stop just winging it. Your anxiety loves it when you don't have a plan, so give yourself a simple structure. This 3-step framework is amazing because it separates the facts from any kind of judgment. You just start with a neutral observation, what actually happened. Then you share how it made you feel, and finally, you make a clear, forward-looking request. And here's what that actually looks like. See how this isn't an attack? It's not, you are always late and you're stressing me out. No, it's just, hey, here's a thing that happened, here's the impact on me, and here's an idea for how we could fix it together. It's all about collaboration, not confrontation. Now, you don't have to jump into the deep end and tackle the scariest conversation of your life tomorrow. You can build this skill up, just like a muscle at the gym. Start small, with really low-stakes stuff. Just express a preference at a restaurant, or share a mild disagreement about a movie. Each little rep builds your confidence for the next one. Okay, this one is so important. Never, ever walk into a difficult conversation when you're already feeling emotionally flooded, because at that point, your amygdala is driving the bus. So take 10 minutes first. Seriously, go for a quick walk, take a few deep breaths, maybe even scribble down your thoughts on a piece of paper. You have to calm your own system down before you can have a calm conversation. If there is just one thing that you take away from all of this, let it be this right here. That fear you're feeling, it doesn't fade over time. It actually grows. The conversation you're dreading having today is only going to feel bigger and more intimidating next week.
So here's the bottom line. You have to let go of the idea that you need to do this perfectly. Your first couple of attempts might feel awkward, you might stumble on your words, and you know what? That is totally okay. The goal is not a flawless performance. The goal is simply to start.
And that really brings us to the final and I think most powerful idea. So many of us think we need to feel confident before we can have the tough talk, but that's completely backward. Confidence isn't the ticket you need to get in, it's the receipt you get after you've already done the hard thing. It's built from the action itself. So the real question is, what small action can you take today?